What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode. And we have had a club car dropped off to us that multiple people have been trying to fix. So there's a lot of stuff that I will be doing to put this cart back to the way it's supposed to be, and to try to figure out what the problem is all at the same time. But what we're working on is a Club Car DS, is gas. There's a lot of work to be done here, so we're going to get at what's going on. Got to get a battery back in it. We got to get our key switch and all that stuff hooked back up properly, because somebody has done some weird stuff going on here. Alright guys, so as I dug into this thing, I found that previous try to fix it was to put key switch in this thing, and it's only a 2-wire switch. Being that this is a 2001 model golf cart, that will not work. So I got the proper key switch, which has 4 terminals. I rewired everything by the schematic, checked all the wires for continuity to make sure we didn't have nothing broken or anything like that, and got that back to the way it was supposed to be. And then I had to drop a battery in it, because the battery that was with the cart was dead as a doornail. And at this point I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the cart, so I'm using a brand spanking new battery in here for now. I do have the battery that was with the cart on charge to see if it'll come back. But at this moment I have found that even though I've got the cart turning over, I've got no spark. And one thing I do know is that they replaced the coil, and I guess they moved on from the coil into doing whatever the wiring crap was. I also have noticed that they have put a brand new forward and reverse assembly on here. The whole thing is brand new, which was most likely not needed. This is why we say it's very, very important to probe this stuff. Be sure you check your micro switches here with a continuity check before you replace any of this. Don't just throw parts at these carts, because it will get expensive, and it will get that way very fast. So at this point I think I'm going to move into the actual RPM limit box, and I'm going to do my best at getting a picture or a view of this for you guys. I have this super overpriced snap-on light here that's pretty doggone bright, so we are going to try to get you a good view of where the location of this box is, and I'll explain a little bit more after we get back up from down here looking at this box. Alright, we're going to go upside down for a minute, but as you can see, the location of that box is right there, right underneath of where your valve cover would be. So if you go directly down from your valve cover and back just slightly, it's bolted right to the engine. And so hopefully you can see the 2 10mm bolts that are holding it to the block there. And that's as simple as it is to get it off. The hardest part is getting to it with your tools, but it is very doable. And I'm going to go grab one off the shelf, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about them, because there's not really a whole lot out there about those. Alright guys, so obviously this is your limit box, your RPM limit box. Okay, this does play a role in getting fire to the coil. And a lot of times these things will have a problem with the ground circuit in it, which would be your brown wire here. Okay, so if you're having a no fire situation on that, you're going to want to unbolt this and tape it off so it can't touch any metal, and then check your fire again. If you get fire back, then this is your main problem. Okay, so now you see it's got a wire that comes out that's black also. Well, this is what communicates to the coil to fire. And so this could also have a problem. Sometimes I have run into them where this side of the limit box causes an intermittent spark. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Take this brown wire off first, see if you get fire back, and then you can check all your wires and make sure that nothing is messed up here causing an intermittent issue. Alright guys, so now that we've covered the RPM limit box and what its initial job is to do and where it's located, I'll explain to you what I was dealing with here and what drove me absolutely crazy for a while, is that I would get one spark anytime I hit the gas pedal, and that's all it would do. And so generally I don't call that like an intermittent problem. I call that a basically a bad, like it's not sparking at all. One spark will not do anything for any engine that's gasoline. So I started diving in and finding out what was done before it got brought here, and we noticed that this whole forward and reverse switch mechanism and all its components was brand new. I tested all that stuff, making sure my micro switches here were operating like they were supposed to. And then of course you have the same thing down here in your box here. Let's get out the old too expensive shop light. Alright, so our box there also has these two micro switches. One is your solenoid activation switch, the other one is your kill switch. So that kills the spark when you take your foot off the gas, so the engine will stop running. And so I did all that, testing all of these. Everything passed with flying colors. I've tested the voltage regulator, because the voltage regulator, I mean, doesn't play a big role in getting spark, you know, but it does have power feeding in and out of it. So I gave that a test. That's all working right. I did the whole key switch rewire thing, because these guys were trying to put a 2-wire key switch on this 4-wire system, and so we got that all wired back up. All that was doing what it was supposed to be doing, and giving me good signals, and I was just going nuts about this. And I happened to remember that this lady that owns this cart had come by and said that the guy that was trying to repair this golf cart said it needed a coil. Alright, so she come and bought a coil, and the fact is that I went through this whole golf cart testing everything like I just explained. And so I was scratching my head wondering what could be going on here. Why is this not operating like it's supposed to? Because the coil, like I said, that she had bought was brand spanking new. She hadn't even had it for like 2 weeks, and I was just thinking to myself, there's no way that could be bad. Well, I was wrong, because it was the only thing left that could have been any kind of reason why this was going on. And so it drove me to pulling this whole thing down and getting this coil off, and looking to see, just trying to visually inspect to make sure I didn't see any damage or anything like that. And I really couldn't tell that there was any reason why this thing would not operate. But because this particular ignition coil has the igniter built into it, it still had me skeptical, because sometimes these things just are not made super quality good. They make these things like in mass production, so you're gonna get probably a batch that may end up being bad, even though it's brand spanking new. And that's what I found here, is that even though this thing was brand new, it still did not do the job properly. So I decided to put a new one back in here for her, and went to see what would happen. And at that time, I got it to run. No matter if it's brand new or old, it still could be a failed part. Things made now, this day and age, are not made in a high quality like they used to be. And so it is very, very likely that it could have just been one of the parts that was made in that production that it was in a bad batch. It happens. It happens every single day. It can happen to original equipment parts. It can happen to aftermarket parts. It can happen to any part. So just keep that in mind, guys, when you're working on these golf carts and you run into something like this and you've bought a new part and it's not operating properly still. Go back and check that new part, because it could very well be the problem. And so there you have it, guys. That's perfect operation there. And like I said, I dove deep into checking all this stuff out. And you know, like a little tip here is that if you're working on these micro switches, all you got to do is just run a continuity check on them and click them on and off, on and off, on and off many times, because these pieces, they can be an intermittent problem to where they'll work 1 minute and not the next, because it's just two little contacts in there that you're opening and closing the circuit on. And so you want to make sure that that circuit is operating every single time for right many times, just to be positive. And you do that with the ones down in the box down here as well. And your key switch, it's pretty simple. You just make sure you're getting continuity on your power and your transfer over. So that way when you cut the key switch on and off, you see the power transfer over to the auxiliary side there, so it'll power up what it needs for the rest of the key switch. That works out perfectly fine. At least in my situation here, all that's working right. I mean, everything was going right until I got to that coil, and come to find out, this coil, brand spanking new, was bad right out of the box. And you can have that happen. It does not matter if it's 1 day new or if it's sitting on the shelf for several months new. It still could be bad, guys. As always, guys, I hope this video helps you out. If you have any questions about what you've seen here in this golf cart and you're having the same situation, please feel free to comment on the channel. Give us a call. I'm pretty sure our number is on the channel somewhere. And we will be happy to try to talk you through all these tests and try to get your cart squared away for you. At the bottom of the screen, guys, you're going to see a QR code. Scan that. It takes you directly to our website to get you any of the parts and accessories you need. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on the channel. It's so much stuff on our channel that can help you out in so many different ways. And as always, we're here for you if you need us. God bless you all. Thank you for watching.